Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the artist-run conversation between Prague and Brussels. The conversation occurs as a curatorial visit of Jesse van Winden in Prague, organized by the Czech Centers in Brussels. Our aim tonight, is to open up a space for sharing knowledge, experience, common issues, and also ways to deal with them in like a day-to-day operation of artist-run spaces. It connects Prague and Brussels through two different artist-run networks: Brussels Artist-Run Network and the new self-shaping Prague network under the working title Swimming Pool that began to open up to artists and art workers based in the Czech Republic. My name is Magdalena Michlova. I'm gonna facilitate this informal discussion tonight, and I am happy to be here with Jesse, then Hanne, Nikolai, Mariana, and Esther, all organizers of the Brussels Artist Run Network. And then Zai from Světová jedna, Alžběta from the AM 180 Gallery, Nela and Sara from ETC Gallery, and Edita and Daniel from the Petrohradská Collective, and then the storytellers from the Burnout Space, all of them founding members of the Swimming Pool, together with the 35 square meters gallery that couldn't join us tonight, unfortunately. So thank you all for being here tonight. I will firstly ask you to introduce the networks and perhaps share what motivated the formation of the networks. For example, was it a reaction to something? Were there any primary goals, and did they change through time? So maybe Brussels Artist Run Network first.
Yeah, I can start. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here also on my own behalf. I co-initiated the network in Brussels in 2020, in the first year of COVID, to ask for support, financial support, for the precarious situation of artists and art workers and art organizations. And this, I thought it would be, we thought it would be a really good idea to do this, like with a large group of people. And you know, politicians are often not so impressed by huge lists of people. So what we did instead was to organize this through the initiatives that we knew that our artists run, so that we would have, by extension, a large community that would undersign this campaign. It worked at the time, but actually we didn't know each other so well. I don't know how well you know Brussels, but in Brussels there's really a lot of artists, and there are a lot of artist-run initiatives from all the different disciplines. When we started out, I think there were 74 that we were, let's say, in contact with, or that were receiving our mails like, do you want to be part of this? Do you want to be part of a meeting? Let's meet up in the beginning through Zoom or something like that. Now we are, I think, something like 117 that we're in contact with, so quite a lot. Many of these are spaces, but also really a lot of them are decentralized, you can call it, or have not a public function, but are more like studio collectives, but do identify as a group. And are interested in sharing the connection to all these other things, and as a larger whole, some kind of a visibility and maybe a voice. We do different little activities, such as visits to the different spaces. You know, many of us already know some of the space, but perhaps not the people that are behind it, or don't really know how they work, or what issues they have, or what solutions they come up with. We have thematic conversations quite often with artistic interventions. We tap into things that are already organized, such as studio visits, and then we try to organize something around it. These kind of things. And yeah, now we're realized, okay, we can do this for in Brussels, but we can also go abroad. Who can I give the word to?
To Mariana, no? If you're talking about
That's the end. I can take it.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Nikolai. So beside the thematic conversations that has happened during the Brussels Artist One Network's conversations, we are also organizing a more artistic stage called Common Reflection, which is a place where we are gathering artist to artist. We are inviting two artists to participate with a piece of artwork, and then we ask the artist to remain a fly on the wall, and the audience is somehow reflecting on the piece of work that is presented there. Beside of that, like this kind of gathering, it's also function as a way of creating a kind of relationship to each other. It's also a part of interacting with the artist-run spaces around in Brussels and inviting the artists to interact with this space itself. Also for us as a way of interacting together. Hannah and I, we initiated this project together, and yeah. What is maybe more important about this gathering as well is that we are creating dinners together, which is a moment of sharing. Voila. Yeah, I think this was actually our first event we initiated in February. So what is important to say is also like quite a new initiative. It didn't really happen that many times, and we do it like once a month, first Thursday of the month. Yeah. Yeah. Voila.
Hello, I'm Hannah. So I'm working with Nikolai on the Common Reflection, and then together with Jesse in June we are organizing international artist-run hangout, where we are inviting people from five cities in Europe that are active in networking or creating a network of artist-run spaces within their respective cities. So we're inviting people from Prague. Zai will be there. And Asbeta will also be there. 80% sure, yes. Yes. So Prague as well as Amsterdam, Liège, Berlin, and Venice. And yeah, we think this will be very interesting for us to also, because we still have a lot to learn, and we also have a lot to show in Brussels. As Jesse said, there's so many initiatives. So we're inviting people to share knowledge, to share experiences, and we bring together different. I think within every city, as we learned this week, there are very specific factors that that kind of define what artist-run initiatives can be there and how they can collaborate. So yeah, we will also focus on that. I give the word to.
So we at the moment we have like two main tools that we are using for working between each other and to work with the network that we have. Me, Mariana, and Jesse are taking part in this newsletter, and it's a tool we use to communicate with the network that we have and to select different events and artistic collaboration that are happening in Brussels, and we do it monthly. And with the newsletter, we are also taking part and using a Telegram group, which it's one of the main resources that we can use. It's sharing tools, communication, spaces, news, and it's a way in which we engage with each other. Jobs, funding. And also talking about funding, because in the past months we have been more structured, and we also have found a way to collaborating more with each other. We are applying now with the two main projects. One is the development of a website, and the idea of the website for us is to create an open source platform for to have like a still a horizontal approach with the network that we have, so everybody can participate and add different points. And because the website will be structured as a map, so everybody can add what they want on the map of Brussels, and there's going to be a calendar and an agenda with events organized by Barn and maybe other collaborations. And for next year, we're thinking about creating an artist-run market, which will also be part of Barn, but also share with the other collective present in Brussels at the moment. And yeah, maybe you can want to add some things.
So, hello everybody, I'm Mariana. I'm from Prague originally, but I live in Brussels since 2 years. And I joined Brussels Artist Run Network 2 years ago. And yeah, I've been part of the organization group, organizing bike tours, also the hangouts, everything that was mentioned here. And yeah, for this trip, I think it was important that when we got into contact with Czech Center, we talked about the option for a curatorial visit in Prague with Jesse. But then, since both Jesse and me were already part of the Brussels Artist Run Network, we thought maybe we could actually, instead of doing curatorial visit in artist studios, we could actually visit artist run spaces and create more of a dialogue between the two networks. Because it also came in an interesting moment. Last year I was I attended a public discussion that happened in Světová, and it was, as I understood, one of the first gatherings of the swimming pool or the artist-run network that is being created here in Prague. So already there we had a little bit of talk about what we do in Brussels and what is happening here. So we thought it could be an interesting moment now to get together, get to know each other and different practices. So also it's important to say that part of this trip was also 3 days visits to different spaces. So we already had like individual conversation with each of the spaces, but this moment is somehow the outcome of these 3 days when we wanted to all come together and maybe also talk about things that we had chance to track somehow in the conversations we had, like important topics and etc. So maybe that's also a nice bridge to swimming pool. So I will give you the microphone.
So hello.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I can actually do it. So we have a little format of collective note-taking. So I think there's A3 papers over there and a couple of pens, and also here. The idea is that there's not one single person taking responsibility for note keeping in a very formatted way, but that we can share this task and that everybody can approach it as they want. So basically, exactly, grab a pen and you make the stack of papers go round. And when it reaches you, you can take notes the way you like. You can write down what's being said or the things that you think are important that are being said. But you can also just express your own thoughts If you don't want to verbalize them, you can make diagrams or drawings or anything. And if you have enough of it, you pass them on to the next person. And if you don't feel like taking notes at all, you don't do anything. You don't feel obliged. But for us, this is a way of creating a document of moments that we're organizing together, and having a nice archive that is polyphonic and expresses the fact that you can never really capture a conversation, whereas actually you can totally document the different things and thoughts that are flying around. And we are going to try to make some kind of a zine together.
And you can, of course, verbalize your thoughts as well. There will be plenty of space at the end for your questions. But if you feel like there's like an urgent question, just raise your hand, and I will try to follow you all from time to time. And now I would like the Prague Artist Run Network to introduce themselves. So can I ask you, Zai?
So hello, my name is Zai, and I would introduce ourselves as a friendship-based baby collective / network that is still in the forming. And also I want to say into the camera, hi, that is Havelkova, who is not here with us today, but she has been, I think, a crucial part and also helping us a lot throughout the month that we are still forming. And yeah, and I think we are meeting regularly every month at this moment, and it started with the conversations that we had at Svetova Jedna last year, and out of this frustration of one festival that I'm not gonna officially name here, and yeah, that's and yeah, and that's. It was basically, I think, it was a reaction on our collaborations before, as that we felt that it was not really helping the non-profit artist-run spaces that were part of the festival. And we found that it would be very important to build something based on helping each other and actually also sharing resources, coordinating between ourselves, than just having PR outcomes and PR and events, but really based on just meeting together, talking, sharing our frustrations, but also trying to be here for each other. And I think that's the main core actually of our baby network.
And Svetova?
Svetova? What about Svetova? Okay, so Svetova is an art and run space from Prague 8, and we are focusing, we do exhibitions and public programs. Beside that, we have 3 main pillars that we focus on. One of them is emerging, so any emerging issues that are current. Then it's queer, that's mainly through queer perspectives, and also what queer can lead to also other perspectives like feminist perspective and etc. And then social political issues, so being engaged, being active in what's happening today and what's happening today. Okay.
You mentioned some like core values that you share probably also among the network. I wonder if there's if you use some criteria when it comes to, I don't know, values or any other characteristics of the galleries that or the artist-run spaces that are joining the network for accepting new members into the network. Do you use any criteria?
At this moment, we are really, I think, in the very beginning stages. We haven't really, we talked about it. At this moment, we settled that at the spaces that joined the conversations at the beginning, because and then slowly out of that, throughout the discussions, we will actually see and how it will actually develop further. But at this moment, we haven't got the chance to set on like one decision yet. Yeah.
And I guess that in the sorry, hello everybody, Sarah. I guess that in the beginning we had some like ideas and some, let's say, like rules, but it's not necessary to even name them, because after first two meetings we realized no, that's not our like common idea, and we do not want to follow these rules. They were there just because we thought we should have some rules, so we named them, but then we didn't relate to them. So as I said, it's really just the bunch of people who are stayed in the same city, in the some kind of the galleries, which are also very different in the name of forms or in the names how long they have been like working on, and then we are like finding out what's happening or what's not happening. Like we have this urge that we feel that we should connect because we are in some kind of the same position, but we are really trying to name it even just for ourselves. So that's then it's difficult to like say, okay, you can be with us and you can't, because we do not who we are or what's our like goals or aims. Of course, we know that we want to be network, but what does it mean, you know? So yeah, there are like more questions about the existence like it used to be, no?
If I may. Hi, I'm Nella from ETC Gallery, with Sarah. I just wanted to add a few things on that topic, because I might have a problem with this like idea of artists from network. We didn't really like define that it's only artists from network. I mean, like I don't really also maybe necessarily define our gallery as artists run network, but it's practically is, but we do not use that term yet, but I mean, like most of the galleries are. So this is just the first thing. The second thing is that it's maybe good to say that we are not any like legal organization. So it's not like set at this point, but I mean, like we were discussing that a lot, but then we just felt so much pressure about the questions that we need to deal with. For example, as Magdalena asked, like, who should be in this like association, or what does it even mean to be, and what are our goals? And of course, like we all have different goals, but the goals that we really agreed on are these, like that there is so many independent galleries in Prague, but we don't really like support each other in a way that we would share the resources, and we found that it's a bit absurd. So I maybe would say that we are all like quite small galleries and in a way independent, and so we agreed on that we would like to share the resources such as technical equipment, or maybe like supporting each other like in some promotion way, and also that it's nice to be in touch and talk a bit more about our shared like or common problems that are connected to fundings and stuff. So we found that it's absurd that we are doing some exhibition and we are really trying to find some equipment, but now it's only like few people there, but I think that this group could really like help us. And also we didn't have any like calendar, so it's also quite funny because this is like the scene is really quite small, I would say, but still we have like 5 openings in the same day, but it's not like organized in the way that this would be like organized together. So this was just the idea that we just thought that hey, let's hang out and talk about that a bit. And of course, it's quite slow process because we don't really because of course we are all in this precarious situation a bit. So we realized that we don't have like so much time to work on the network as we have like so many jobs, each of us. So now we just settled, as Zai said, on this like one meeting per month, and it's like hanging out and talking about like what is happening and what is everyone doing and what programs are they planning. And this is also very nice to see, I would say, that we didn't know about each other's plans or activities, and now it's happening. So even if that would be the case, so this is start of something that we will see what's gonna happen, I would say. And this is also my last thing that I wanted to comment on was this swimming pool title, which was just Sarah's fun idea, but not for the title. But as we didn't want it to be this like legal, we had a really hard time to find the title. But then we didn't feel the need to have a, have a name of the non-existing organization. So Sarah just said like, yeah, something like that we are a swimming pool, it's just the place to meet. So so just don't think that it's like super official.
We are all swimming in this together.
How about Brussels and the shared values criteria? Is it something that can be, checked if you are like 117 galleries and spaces?
I can try to answer. Of course, this is a very polyphonic group. We don't have a clear mandate to represent all these people at all. Also, we don't have a legal body, but we do consider this coming together of all these places and people as a potential for representing certain values and certain goals that we might have collectively. I don't really know the Prague situation very well yet, but I can imagine that it's relatively similar in the sense that in Brussels the politicians don't really take consideration what artists and art workers need, and this is also simply a problem of representation in the political sense of the word. So we certainly see the potential and the value of this. A first formal step that we are doing in this direction is we are trying to write a kind of policy paper that we want to communicate to policymakers of different political levels, not just about anything or about all the things that we could, but specifically about the need for affordable studio and working space for different practices, also for dancers, for instance, for audiovisual makers, because space for presentation is so highly valued and so visible, literally speaking also, and high on the agenda, relatively at least, whereas space for development and production is just like really an issue. So this is something that we are trying to put higher on the agenda in terms of affordability and long-term and quality, and to try to take it off of the commercial market, at least partially.
Yeah, I think it's also important to state that we are not running any initiatives ourselves. So we are curators, artists, art workers, and but then through this Telegram group, for example, that we have, which has I think now 290 members, and it's open to anyone. So you just need a QR code and you can join. So which also, for example, so sharing resources or stuff like that, or when we want to step to policymakers, we could also go there and ask if anyone can help us. There is someone in the network that has experience with lobbying, so we just have it's a very broad. I don't know what's happening. Should we address this? Yeah. I mean, it's a really, really broad network in that sense. So it's a very different working.
Yeah, maybe in that case also the title like artist-run network or is maybe not also super precise, because there is also lots of collectives or nomadic projects without an actual space. And as it was said, also individual artists. So for now, I mean, the network is really broad, and it's not just about spaces. That's, I think, very important to highlight.
And also, I mean, when you were speaking, I just came to my mind that we don't even meet like once a month, in a sense. But we are kind of in contact through the newsletter, through the Telegram group. And for now, it has been working in a sense, because it's sort of a sharing responsibility on a different level. But I think we don't have like official meetings in which we discuss about the network itself.
Let me just repeat it for the record. Do you have any results from challenging the politicians and stakeholders?
Well, the thing that I just referred to hasn't started yet. We have started to write a collective thing, but the first thing that I mentioned, that we tried to make an effort to get financial support during COVID. Yes, already after like 3 weeks after sending this letter, I don't know how much it is in Czech crowns, but no, not the network, but it was announced that there will be 6.8 million euros available for artists and organizations, and that was the first time. Then in total, I think there were 3 rounds in total, and I think for like 17 million or something. It's insane. So yes, it's not fruitless at all, and we do think that there's a lot of potential. What I forgot to say when I was speaking about space is one thing that we already did start doing is to compile a reader with articles. So for us, it's in Dutch and French, the national languages in Belgium, and English, because it's a very international community of artists and art workers. Articles that speak about the importance of space for artistic development and production and presentation, and collectives, and actually also simply for money for artists in the first place. So there's a QR code, and we are open to more contributions as well.
It's not up to me to say, but Brussels consists of 19 communes, and we had some funding from one commune now, and I think then it's easier also to say like, okay, this is what we need. We got this at this commune, and we can step to the other 18. Inshallah. Maybe someone else can.
Does any of you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I mean, we also have lots of discussions about it, how to ask for things, because of course, as in Brussels, and I guess also here, if you come to someone and ask for money straight away, it does not work usually super well. So I think also writing down the needs of different artist spaces or initiatives is, in general, very important step how to get things done. Finding out the needs.
And how do you address the diverse needs and goals of different member spaces while at the same time maintaining a cohesive network identity?
Yeah, then you need to have just meetings, conversations, come together, try to devise a way of being able to speak together about things. Of course, that's way too much at once. But we have these thematic conversations that, for instance, address relations with politicians, that address the need for space, that address, one time we had a conversation in one specific commune or municipality, like Hannah just mentioned, because it's a particularly cheap place to live and to work, so there's many initiatives over there. These kind of moments are moments to understand what everybody thinks and wants. And yeah, of course, then you also see moments, then you see topics and items that people disagree. And you need to take that in consideration one way or another. Yeah. But eventually it does require quite some work by individual people to make it happen also. So we are just the tip of the iceberg now of this network, of course, but we don't really define ourselves as the organizational team, but in practice, so far, we kind of are, plus maybe 2 or 3 other people. And out of these 120 initiatives, I think it's around like 15 or so that are the most active and are most often present, and we count on most out of all these places. Yeah.
So I understand that you are that you have no strict hierarchy. Maybe is it perhaps defined by the level of activity, or like the amount of activity?
I don't think it's clear for us either. We just had a conversation about it over lunch and about what our position is, and we don't know. So, and I think it's quite nice.
For the time being, we don't care.
How does swimming pool or just Prague branch? How do you feel about hierarchies of your network?
So obviously, I think I maybe mentioned that I mean, like, it was initiated by Zai and Teresa Havelková, but I mean, like, they made clear that they don't want to like run the organization, which we didn't know. I mean, like, they invited a few people, and we didn't really know what to expect. But then it just became clear that we will just be like a group, and there is no like hierarchy. But I mean, like, it's really hard to find. I mean, like, you don't have this hierarchy, but you seem very, very well organized, or I mean, like, it seems like it, and or structured. We can't have like the presentation as you had at the beginning when everyone was presenting some other activity that you are doing. But I mean, like, of course, we don't have any activities or public outcomes yet. But I think that this is something also that we were struggling with a bit, because of course it needs some care, and you know, if you want to do something, you need to prepare some materials and stuff. But so yeah, and it's quite a slow process, but we were trying to do it like maybe, yeah, Sarah, you can add, because you were there when with the facilitation of the meetings. But usually if you say like, who wants to do that, you know, it's so this is something like we don't just try to push it, but for example, Zai is organizing the calendar meetings, which is nice.
And I guess that in the beginning there was like this idea, okay, so we don't want to push anybody, but there is somebody who needs to do it. So let's be responsible for ourselves. And if you are not doing anything, maybe you can explain why, or just let's do something. And that this position could be like fluent, because of course anybody needs to facilitate it, somebody needs to take notes, but it's nice that not same people is doing it all the time, and it's your responsibility to ask for it or say I don't want to do it because I really hate it, or just make your like statement about it. So I think that this fluency is something what's quite working. No, maybe no.
I think also like what we have met quite often is that our meetings usually happen at 6 p.m. or last time it was 9 p.m. and 7 p.m., which is over also after the work hours. So it's quite like extra thing that we're all of us are actually doing. So, and I think each of us have also the different capability, time capabilities, energy capabilities. So there's like just exchanging of like, so sometimes, for example, Sarah facilitate, sometimes Teresa take notes, sometimes Stonehitters take notes. So I think that's also kind of, it's one of the reasons that it's really helping us actually to continue.
Maybe I just think that we all wanted to be a part of the initiative because it made sense, but we just didn't want to have another job after our like jobs. So this was just the beginning, and then we're gonna see.
Yeah, I just think I just want to quickly just also comment on this idea about, as we seems very organized, but we also really spent very intensely time together, and even between the meetings we had, like during the past 3 days, there was also like conversations going on in between the meetings, meeting all these great spaces in Prague. So we have like continuously been talking about our own positions and in the network itself, like the future and the present and even the past as well. So so I think this is also why we're giving this kind of impression right now, because when we are returning to Brussels, then of course we are still in it together, but we are also like returning to a kind of a normal life again. Yeah? So maybe that's important to have this kind of a background to,
Yeah, and actually now we are meeting a lot, but normally we are not meeting a lot at all. Did you just say that we are not meeting even on a monthly basis like you are, which I think is really a good job, but I can also imagine, that's like a job. And I think for us what works really well is to have a base, have an idea of the network as an infrastructure that works for the network, rather than it's everybody has to decide for themselves if they want to take an active role and push or pull, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, like an obvious example for us is this Telegram group where everybody can just propose anything, ask anything, say anything. There's like this, I think in WhatsApp communities you also have this possibility, but in Telegram groups you have this subtopics, and that's the kind of infrastructure that is a kind of basis to make sure that you reduce work for individual people and maximize the agency of an infrastructure.
From my experience, it's sometimes very hard not to burn out when engaging beyond one's job or jobs in plural, especially when it's like volunteering based. I've myself engaged myself in various like associations throughout the years, but usually ended up burned out. The only exception now is this Disability Justice Collective we run here in Prague, and I asked myself, why is it that it only or mostly nourishes me and not gaslighting my burnout? And I realized that it's because the main activity that we do is for us, for the collective itself, the care we exchange internally. And if we come up with a public event, then it's great, but it's not necessary. It's not something that would press us, that we have to organize something. Is it, I wonder, how do you sustain? Is it something you can, you share this attitude, or do you have another mechanisms how to maintain and care?
I think, as I previously said, that the goal of us meeting each other is really not to come up with more programs. It's really the only goal is to meet and to speak, meet, and to be friends. And I think that helps, at least like for me personally, that it's one of the main driving forces to also meet people who have similar experiences, who is facing similar struggles. So, and that I think itself for me helped a lot, and brought me lots of like energy that like feel like I'm not alone, and and yeah, so I think that's like one of my personal view.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something, and also maybe to our previous conversation about the self-organization that, and maybe also the previous one that was about like the criteria of inviting people. And we just, I mean, like there were a few more people, but they never showed up at the meetings, and then we didn't like see why they should be part of it, because it's just few people there now, and we are not sure if we want to have like public outcomes. But if we do, we agreed that we want to all agree on them, because I mean, like there are so many people in your network, but you just 5 of you are here, right? You didn't invite like 100 people to go, because you are speaking as the organization, or maybe you did, maybe.
We had an extra seat in the car, and we invited. We invite everyone. Anyone could have joined from the 290 people, but
Oh wow! Sorry, I didn't expect.
we didn't have place for 300 people in the car.
I think it's because the way we see the network itself is it's a sort of a ghostly structure, but not haunted. So it exists around us, but like we share a sort of horizontal responsibility. And what I like also about it, there's a quality that like it's a very opaque. Like there's some sort of opacity in the way we do things and in the way we interact with each other. We know it exists, and we know that we are all connected to each other, but like people step in or step out depending on necessity and like the possibility at the time. And so I think this is one way in which there is the possibility of not burning out, because if everybody like take engagement all the time, like that will not be possible.
Just about this, about our coming here now, like was said before, originally it was just Mariana and me who were invited by the Czech Center, and I realized that if we would be going as a network, then why just one person or 2 people? It's almost a little bit boring. I would be much happier if more people would come. So I just started inviting more people, starting with the people who are the most obvious people to invite. The ghostly part. maybe this helps. No. Yeah, and then technically speaking, there could have been many more people. Of course, it's already great to be here. The five of us. Actually, there would have been a sixth person, but was it medical reasons, train-related, combination of medical and transport-related reasons? She's not here, but yeah, we try to do things together. That's the most important thing. Also, in terms of chronology, let's say one of the first obvious functions of tasks of the network for us was to communicate all the public things that were going on. I mean, just of course, you still have only a tiny little tip of the iceberg, but that's why one of the first things that Mariana and me were starting doing was this newsletter that wasn't sent out to all these 76 people, 76 initiatives in the beginning, plus innumerable individuals. But I think it was only half a year ago that we realized, okay, this is not really as interesting as it could be. And we did a meeting where we asked everybody, okay, why is a network interesting for you? Why are you coming here? How do you think this network could do interesting things? What could the network possibly do? What would you like to do for the network? And so that made things roll, really. And then an important thing that happened only then was this Telegram group, because a newsletter is interesting, but then it's me and Mariana who are sending this out to many people, in conversation with many others, of course, but still. All the mail addresses, of course, is relatively private. But the Telegram group made it possible to see the newsletter as a newsletter. Made it possible to see the network as a network. Because everybody can say anything, everybody can also go into direct message with anyone. So that was interesting, and then it started to become a network.
Do you want to continue?
Yeah. I mean, like, it sounds very, very nice. I just didn't really expect that reply. I'm just starting to think that we are maybe overthinking this. I don't know.
I think so too.
Just a technical thing. Maybe we can try to mute the mics when we handing it over to each other. We are. We are slowly wrapping up this project called The Art of Maintaining with Victoria Vitu from the Photograph Gallery here in Prague, mapping various workers' conditions in galleries and other exhibition spaces by interviewing anyone from the technician to the guest service from this city-funded or state-funded huge gallery to an artist-run space. We ensure the anonymity of the people, so we expected them to tell us we expected them telling us that their employers exploit them in their free time and stuff, and it is often the case, of course. But what surprised us was that that quite a lot of people was telling us that they feel something like a self-exploitation or like this internalized capitalism. And I wonder if that's something that you experience as well, and if so, how do you fight it?
Yeah, I wanted to already say a bit more about burnout before, and maybe this also applies to your question now, and then maybe that's a bit personal, not that much within the network, but personally I have a good network of support in Brussels, but also a bit more internationally, and I think it's always good to have, also from the conversations that I hear with a lot of people who go into burnout, they're very often very much into care, but then forget that they are part of the whole, so they also need care. And yeah, I also noted down that it could be good, like, to share free mental health tools, and because I have a few groups in Brussels with who we meet and we offer each other support, or we have a group, an empathy group that we can call whenever you need empathy, so you can just call and receive empathy instead. So, you know, there are some like very easy tools available, but then there are also institutional tools available that are accessible online, for example, that could maybe be good resource to share for, yeah.
No, maybe in this, relating to this topic, we had very interesting conversation with Zai and Svetova, because I think they created pretty fascinating system of care within their space. So maybe if you want to speak about it, Zai, it would be super nice.
I don't really think that we're that sustainable, actually. No, like, I remember like yesterday when we talked, I mentioned, I think you pointed out to the volunteer program that we created together actually with Victor, and and for that we really like 2 years ago we decided that, oh gosh, we really need help, and but we don't have the monetary abilities to actually get help. So then we spent 2 years developing an volunteer operation plan, and together with that also an appreciation plan, which is based on non-monetary appreciation of volunteers. And I think this plan itself is also slowly shaping the whole organizational structure and the operational structure of the space. But at the same time, there's like lots of unanswered questions because it's been only 2 years. We had 2 waves of onboarding of volunteers, and there's just lots of questions. Yeah.
And when it comes to the whole network, maybe like all the way to the right, the mic. Or anyone from the Prague.
I guess it's still quite soon to ask this question, and we did not discuss it collectively yet. So maybe everybody is here just for themselves regarding this question. And myself, I just lose this fight. I think, I just lose it, and I'm losing it all the time because I need to pay my rent. But I'm trying to enjoy it and embrace it. And I'm my therapist, and so, So yeah, I'm not very good in this fight at all. Even though I know there are some like free mental health tools. They didn't work for me, or I'm not able to apply them on myself. So the best thing I can do is to walk my dog, and then I'm happy, and have just 10 calls on the way, but it's okay. So yeah, I'm just losing it. And it's you are right. I was also thinking if I should do this network, because maybe I'm just deep in my precarization here, because I'm already super like overwhelmed with everything. But still there is like this inner voice which is saying me, telling me, yeah, it's good, it will be good once, and it will be just better and better, and we will like change the world, But yeah, honestly, I just lose it, or I'm losing.
I mean, like, maybe this is just a hurtful question for all of us, as I know that we are all like super busy, and also, I don't know if it's just a Czech thing, but
Oh yeah, we can.
no.
We are cool, we are fine now.
But I think that we all are a bit losing it and dealing with burnout a lot. I mean, like a month ago, I was invited to be part of the discussion about burnout, and now I have anxiety because I don't have time to go there, because But yeah, so, and then you need to get another job because you need to pay the therapist so you can deal about the burnout or how to organize your work, and then you are working more. I mean, like, no, we are all trying to make it more sustainable, but of course, it's like it's not like that like all the time.
But at least we have this swimming pool thing that is kind of like and this is therapy itself, or it's like a starting point for collective trauma bonding therapy. So yes,
We will see. We will see. Yeah, that's the only thing that I think it's.
don't worry. I'm like okay, just haven't died. It's okay.
Yeah, that's the like work, the internal work that is so important. Did you want to add something before, or any of you to this topic?
Maybe just brief. I just want to say, like, one of the reasons why this common reflection was also initiated was also in terms of, finding these relationships and getting together with people, also just strangers. That I mean, the first meeting we had was, of course, announced through the Telegram group, and actually, like, one person from Antwerp, which is like 45 minutes in train, reached all the way to Brussels to actually participate in this meeting or like this gathering. So I think it just shows also the potential of something to meet and come and share food and just be together. Of course, it's also about art, but it's also just about sharing these moments actually.
Yeah, maybe I didn't want to say something out of the fear to be too positive, which I'm not necessarily. I also deal with mental health issues, but I am also working a lot on like this deconstructing internalized capitalism, and it does feel very empowering. And it does also feel very empowering to do this with groups of people. So I do think there is, of course, it's. I don't know. I think, okay, we all go to therapists, but it's also costing a lot, and then that's the result of a system where we get reduced to having to pay everyone to help in any capacity. So I do think creating networks, creating we talked about friendship, but for me it's also kinship in another way, because as we grow older, we are also looking for okay, we live out somehow not within the system, so we need different tools to deal with that, and I think it. Yeah, I don't want to say pay off, because then I'm getting too much back into the money thing. But I don't think it's important work. Yeah.
I think also these things that we're saying are also on a personal level, because our network is so broad and it's also horizontal. Like we all come from different environment and different way of approaching this thing. From my perspective, I can also say that the network is a tool also to have a political statement and to address institution in a different way, and to have access to some institution that I will not be able to access on my own. And how I deal with it, then it's on a different level and on a different also. It's my responsibility to see what I can do with this new tool that I have, and I approach and I create a dialogue. But just the idea of coming to terms with this, not being an artist on my own, that's changed everything. And I think when we talk about like overwork and like internal capitalism, like if you're an artist on your own, that it feels like a burden, that it's unsustainable. But if there's a network around you, there's like different sharing tools, and then you already create something that is different.
if I can add something to that, I think it's super interesting that you all have these experiences and constatations, and that you can share in the network, because that implies also the possibility of speaking out collectively and sharing good practices. I know that Zai is now reducing a little bit the potential, not the potential, you're not reducing the potential, you're saying that so far you haven't gone so far with the internal policies of making sure that exploitation of, how you call it, collaborators, co-workers is reduced to a minimum. But that could, in my imagination at least, lead to sort of like guidelines or things that you can strive for. You know, if that is ambitious, that's good. If that then means that you cannot make it for all the obvious reasons, it's not like a failure. It's just the beginning of at least creating an awareness that is, you know, a little bit more black and white, that you can communicate also to all the funding bodies that you are in dialogue with, to show, because, you know, we've now visited only also just the tip of the iceberg of the Prague artist scene. There are so many great things, and these funding bodies, they are aware of that because they are in conversation with you, but maybe they are not fully aware of their responsibility in terms of how you experience your everyday working life. You know, and I don't expect at all that then the next minister or whatever they are called would do something on the short term, but maybe on the middle term or on the longer term, an awareness would evolve of what the relationship is and what the responsibilities are.
Want to react to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you all for sharing, but also I think that it was really nice to see why the networks are so important and how can it help really, and also like community. And then I was just wondering if maybe on that topic I was quite interested about burnout space, because we didn't really hear from them today, but this is maybe also their topic a bit about the process of how they work. So but I mean, like, it's up to you if you want to add something.
Yeah, maybe I can add just some small things which we are practicing inside of the collective, and it's really some simple things, because as a collective is 4 years old now, and we were for the whole time we were struggling with because it was really overwhelming, and we were like probably on the edge of burnout, but and it's also because why the idea of the space came to us. But we are just trying to maintain some structure in our meetings, for example. Like we are meeting once a week maximum, and also all the tasks that we have, they are divided between us. Also, we're just really trying not to take projects which we don't have capacity to, and this is a big struggle for us. But I think this year is going to be better because we set the rule that we don't take projects which are, for example, not funded, but they are from institutions which have fundings. And this kind of a rule that we have, but also if the project is, for example, from some smaller institution which doesn't have funding, then it's like okay for us to go for it, but also we are trying to maintain some level of activities which is manageable in 3 people. But yeah, it's still hard because we also have our own jobs.
I mean, like, if I'm not mistaken, you were counting the working hours and then you were trying to get your, like, what is your real salary? This is maybe something that would be
we work out for 3 years actually. We were counting hours and the money that we got from projects, but I think it didn't really take us anywhere because it worsened from year to year, and last year was the worst one. And I think we had like 10 crowns per hour. And this year we decided not to count it because in the counting also takes a lot of time because you have to remember to write it down. So it failed in a way. But I think it's a lot about boundaries for us, and also about because I think we all have like this fear of missing out because you want to experience everything and take all the projects you got, and but for us it's important to set this boundary that to say no to some projects, even if it's really hard to do sometimes. But we are just like trying to think that just trying to don't have this fear that nobody will ever ask us to do anything again if we will say no now. Yeah, but I'm not sure if we are succeeding, but
Thank you for sharing. Counting the hours is something that sounds like an important message, like externally for everyone outside the collective, but I guess that for you actually being in the collective, it can be a counterproductive in a way that it deepens your frustration. So thank you for sharing. I would now open the space up for any of you to ask, and you can just stay where you are and ask, and I will repeat it for the record. You can ask in English or in Czech.
For Brussels, I was wondering, do you have rules for acceptance or general rules inside the network?
So the question was about the rules for acceptance or general rules.
No, I mean at the moment it's super open, so anyone who wants to join can join. And I mean, I think maybe the only thing that we are trying to be aware of is not to open it for structures that have, for example, already like PR and communication channels, such as like bigger institutions. So yeah, it's for artist-run initiatives and curators-run.
What the network is and what it does, or just forwarding the newsletter and making them aware. But yeah, where we kind of draw the line is if it's institutional, you know, where, and I do agree that it's a little bit of that it's a little bit tricky, the term artist-run itself, because of course I'm also myself, I do have an artistic practice, but I'm not really an artist by training. I'm more an organizer. And so yeah, there's something tricky about the term, for sure. But for instance, the way that we formulate it in the sort of statement that we have now is artists and art workers, which is already more, you know, a little bit more open, and the importance of collectives is super large.
Yeah, so Nikolai and I, when we started the Common Reflection program, we thought it was a really good idea to do it under the umbrella of Brussels Artist-Run Network, but we didn't really ask them, and here we are, so it's quite open.
did you have to deal with a situation of an institution, well-established institution wanting to join you, and you felt like it's not where you want to see yourself?
I mean, I don't think like a personal contact, but I know, for example, about few people from bigger institutions in Brussels who were very interested in joining the newsletter, and then, I mean, of course, it's also artists or people working in art, but then I guess it's maybe the question more like if they can also somehow contribute to the network, if it's not just taken from the network. But I mean, as said, we are very open for now, so anyone can join the group, and I think maybe that's also more question for future, if we will work on this website, open source website, which should be open for different initiatives to add content. I think there we would maybe have to have more discussions about how open this should be and for whom.
I can imagine like a commercial gallery seeing you as an opportunity to, I don't know, broaden their audience.
Yeah, I think we should see it as an opportunity to negotiate something. You know, for instance, now only just I think 2 days ago we received. It's not really an invitation yet, but it's an initiation to a conversation by something that's called the Brussels Gallery Weekend. Happens every year. It's basically because all galleries are open, or so I don't even really know what it is. Probably like a map showing everything that's going on, or so. And I don't know at all if it's going to work, but I see it as an occasion to see if they can, I mean, this gallery weekend institution or whatever it is, there's probably a lot of money behind it. Not just because they have a lot of money, but because if we understand it well, the galleries that want to be part of this program need to pay in order to be part of the map and of the calendar and everything. So what we are going to say when we get on the phone or when we get coffee together is that it could be super interesting for them to have some of the artist-run spaces on the calendar. We understand this because it's highly interesting content. This is highly interesting programming that commercial galleries would never think of, would not so easily think of. It represents different approaches. It represents all kinds of things that we could provide for their program. So then maybe they can raise the entrance, the participation fee of the commercial galleries, so that they can pay the galleries that will be participating from our network to pay us to be part of their program instead of us just providing nice visibility and nice, I don't know, an alternative edge to their commercial thing.
Yeah, and we heard about the Prague version of this, so in this sense it's super interesting to meet other networks and to share knowledge on this. So I think now as well, if we would have this conversation, I think we can, I mean, or it's a conversation between the Prague network that we would benefit of, to see like, okay, what, because we are not running we were not running initiatives, let's say. So I think in this sense it could help to have a collaboration to prepare us for that conversation.
Actually what you said, there's been I think lots of discussion between ourselves in the past regarding these issues and different types of collaboration where there are different interests in mind. And I think really that's a very big topic with lots of stuff, and it's actually hard to talk about it. So every would you like to add something on that? Yeah, because like also like this is the way how we the first meetings was actually before Svetova, and it was during the collaborations on one of the quite like similar festival, and so there are some ideas, some opinions, also some feelings regarding this kind of cooperation, and I don't think we had the chance to actually really we talked about it, but it's a
Yeah, I just think that we are really like we have really different interests, and I was in the initiative that was trying to make this association, which was mixed of commercial galleries and independent galleries, and we were like bouncing forward and back like on these like some topics because of you know, we were doing something like gallery weekend, but some of the galleries were like doing exhibition from their artists, but then independent galleries were like spending a lot of time and money on, you know, doing just the show for it. So I mean, like there could be a lot of things that we can't agree on, but we can't really. This is not the same galleries, you know. This is not the same background, and we just need to like see that. And of course, there are a lot of topics surrounding it, like in Czech Republic, because, for example, commercial galleries here are also getting some public funding. This is also the question if it's okay or not. I mean, like I believe that everyone maybe here has some opinion on that, and so, but I don't think it's the same.
Are there any more questions from any of you?
My questions would be for both collectives. Do you choose to network with organizations that are on the outside of the world, like political organizations, social ones? Because of course the needs of the art world are very specific, but I think the strategies to actually make these autonomous networks function, you can actually learn a lot about them.
The question was whether the networks also like network outside of the art space with political organizations and stuff.
You mean like network or just fight for better conditions or?
Yeah, really. Together-ish.
So we do not, but I mean, like, of course, we were discussing if we want to, like, what is the goal of the association, and if we want to, like, as I said, like, fight for better conditions, and for example, be visible on, and I mean, like, replying on some topics that are surrounding the scene, or I mean, like, be in communication with the city or the Ministry of Culture, because we are mostly, I think all of the galleries are funded by the City Hall or the Ministry of Culture, but this is super early stage, and this is, I think, something that we are not aiming at it right now.
Some of the initiatives that are part of our network are really, how would you call it, like transversal, or maybe one good example is, you can call it a collective, you can call it, it's actually, some people have called it a civic movement that finds an organization in a more formalized way whenever needed, and whenever somehow, or whenever needed, and then in whatever way possible. It's called State of the Arts, SOTA, and artists and art workers are really an important driving force behind this movement, let's call it. But they're really not the only ones, and this is really also a very polyphonic initiative that I think is simply defending a more fair society at large. and they do amazing things. Not only in Brussels, actually, it's more Belgium or maybe Flanders. Still, Brussels is the center of gravity of the thing. And yeah, for instance, in terms of migration politics, or in terms of Palestine movement, they are an important voice. And this is not the only initiative, but that's one obvious thing that comes to mind. And yeah, so far we haven't really had any particular project in this direction. But for instance, the web developer that we are going to develop the website with, he is super interested in mapping different things in the city, and his proposal was to not only map spaces and other initiatives, but also bicycle collectives. And we were like looking at each other like, that's funny, shall we do that? And I think for now the consensus is, yeah, if there's individuals who think that's a good idea, and there's a consent, there's no people who think this is absolutely ridiculous, let's do it. Yeah.
I have a question for this side of the table here. For Dan and Edita, actually, because just to make it like maybe more practical and to also draw maybe from your experience, what would, like, you know, you started the initiative with Petrovecka quite some time ago, and it's been an uphill climb, but it's hugely successful on many, many counts. But like, what would you have benefited from, or what would you have perhaps wanted to see if in that initiative, in its incubation, you had access to something like a network, something like an artist-run network that's more socially oriented?
So there was a question for the Czech part, and specifically for the Petrovecka collective. What would they need in terms of resources?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's actually something what I was thinking the whole time when I was listening to all of you. Because our project is a bit different. In terms of the association, we are here mainly regarding the gallery, I guess. But in terms of the project as a whole, it's 10 years old. So, like, if I just go topic by topic, burn out many times. Like, this is something that happened, of course. And like, in terms of the resources, I think that one thing is definitely the connection but especially for gallery again, I guess, because the gallery is a project that moved 3 times, like inside of the compound of Petrovecka, which is supposed to be at this moment basically gone, and it's prolonged again until September next year. And as a gallery, like overall, like a gallery as a space, as a something what you run, it's like very non-profit. It's like there is nothing that can be more non-profit, I guess, than non-profit galleries. It's just you need money everywhere, and you don't have any, and you have to find the resources in any other space, any other corner of our compound, for example. And like, it is important to, I guess, share sort of the, I wouldn't say traumas. It doesn't need to be necessarily a support group in this way, but it's important to share difficulties, challenges, and share what you like. How can you overcome them, or like how can you face them in some, like, let's say, good manner. I don't know. And so this is something I think for us what we can gain from it, like in terms of that. I don't know if it really replies to your question, but I mean, like, I have additional questions.
That was actually also my question for all of you. Like, what kinds of support would you need right now from other actors, be it the broader art scene or the policymakers or another stakeholders? you can use this as an opportunity to like make a demand.
So I guess that there is this status of artist, which is already the discussion is like running, and there are many people who are not sitting here. Maybe some of you are here, but I don't just see you, who are doing their best to make it happen and to make it happen good for us and not good for them, if I will just simplify it like that. And we all know that there is something already happening which is not enough and which is not good, but I think that this is, for example, the direction which can fulfill our wishes if we, I don't know what will we do, but this is one of the figure or legislative like statutes which could really help us to, you know, be more happy.
Anyone from the audience?
I have like a, I have like a, thank you so much, like Brussels guys for coming. It's really great. I have more like a note, but you can definitely reply and maybe add to that. I was just thinking it's maybe good to say also like that. I think that the Prague network is so like it has a bit of different standing. You know, like the galleries are sort of like sustaining to be sort of replacement for the commercial galleries because we don't really have so many commercial galleries. So I think in Brussels it's more about this like, you know, two sides, and you can sort of choose where you want to stand, and the commodity of the arts is sort of more like shaped than we have in here. So I'm just like thinking in the terms of like differences between that, because like I mean, and then I have one more thing, just like, I mean, I really appreciated this thing with this QR code or with this sort of like, I wouldn't say that it's just like non-hierarchy thing, I would say that it's more really like a connection between like a broader, I don't know, it's more like accessible, I would say. And I was just thinking maybe like a note for the Czech side, that for example, like, I mean, I would love to like know about the programs, but I necessarily don't have time to be part of the meetings. So it's just like maybe like just a note to like I don't know, to maybe like think about something that is more accessible also for people who are not so able to be there in person or something. Yeah.
So there were several notes. One was before the Brussels part. If they can elaborate more on the differences, because the situation here is not that like two-sided, because there are not that many commercial galleries here. And then there was a note for the Czech part. If they can like organize or think of a way for people to join without joining the meetings. Who wants to start? Do you want to start?
Yeah, just very briefly, our only program now is the meetings. So this is just like the first thing that, I mean, like, we were discussing some things that are going to happen, but it didn't happen yet. We were, with Elžbieta, we had this task to do some Excel sheets for like 2 months. I don't know how about you, but but I mean, like, of course, this is something that we want to continue talking about it, and now also I really appreciate this discussion. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was really nice to, I mean, like, obviously we're, I mean, like, totally like different on the different level now, but it was really like inspirational to hear how could it work possibly, and or how the model could be. So that was really nice, and I think that a lot of things that we can also think about, because I think that we were a bit stuck at like what we said, but maybe it was also because we didn't really expand the platform, so there were no like new opinions on that. Sorry.
Yeah, actually, when I asked anybody from the audience, I meant is anybody from the audience interested in replying to Magdalena's question, because I think it's a really important question. Like, what do we think? We think that we could ask from politicians, policymakers, maybe also other, maybe actually institutions, maybe even educational institutions, like how can they help? So I'm going to ask you again, but first I'm going to maybe answer for myself. That is what I already started maybe replying before, that we just need better material conditions for, not necessarily for the network as a whole, but for the individual actors, because real estate prices, I know that here they're actually ridiculously high, even compared to Brussels, but it's also a reality with us, of course. So it becomes always more impossible to find a good working space, especially collectively. If you need like anything over 100 square meters, it already becomes complicated, especially if it's over like 300 or 400 square meters, it becomes complicated to handle. And what we also will somehow try to ask is for financial support for the management of collective studios, because that doesn't exist at all. This is always just, paid, the rent is paid with the rent, and then there's a collective management. Maybe there's some kind of a rent reduction for the people who do extra work or something like that. But it's something that we want to demand. Yeah, maybe you can also interview, but I'm first maybe going to ask again anybody from the audience if anybody has ideas that should be addressed in terms of requests or demand.
To me, there is a need for people to mediate between the government and the art world, because it is a very, the government clearly cannot face the challenges, like the politicians in the administration just cannot productively interact with the world of contemporary art. And I think there needs to be a couple government-funded positions with actually people educated in contemporary art and people that are deep in the network to be able to face the challenges.
Do you want to repeat it?
Maybe you want to elaborate on that?
I just wanted to say that in that terms we are very lucky to have one person in the network that used to be very active in politics as a lobbyist and also in NGOs, who is helping us with that. So I follow the workshop with her on lobbying, and now she's also helping Jesse together with other actors to really how to formulate these demands and to be super specific about it. And I mean, because it's a really specific language that you need to be able to speak before stepping out there. And I think it is a tool that she would be very happy to share. So maybe we can share it with you.
Yeah, just for clarity, the question or the remark was that it would be really good to have government-funded positions that intermediate between artists and politics. So yeah, this is a good suggestion by Hanne also. I think it's a really good idea. It's a good suggestion by Hanne. And if you're interested, in Berlin, there is a network that is really quite a bit further. And it's called Berlin Freie Szene, like free scenes, kind of. Berlin alternative scene or so. And I don't know these people personally, but apparently there's at least one person who's a lawyer who is just personally interested in the right for the free scene to exist in a city with ever rising real estate prices, and somehow applies his professional knowledge, I should say, and you know how much lawyers earn, so sometimes there is one who realizes, okay, my hourly wage is about 2,000 times the burnout one. Let's make this useful for this scene at large, and what happens there is quite interesting because then to this lawyer they listen quite easy because these people have the codes, and yeah, we need to find some. Maybe we need to train some lawyers.
What's the name of the Berlin network?
Berlin Freie Szene.
Freie Szene.
Vrij like free, F-R-E-I-E, and then Szene, S-Z-E-N-E.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if I can just add something on what Jesse just said is that I think it's it's a resource, the fact that in the network there's not just artists, which for an artist-run network is maybe seem weird, but at the same time it's super resourceful, and it's also help you to step out of this same discourse that maybe is going on.
Actually, some people from the SOTA scene, some people that I mentioned from the SOTA scene before, they are also involved in the Belgium equivalent of the artist status. There also exists something in Belgium which is relatively well developed and already exists since the late 90s, I think. The artist status. But it's extremely complicated to understand the rules and all kinds of bureaucracy. But these people are also in the Telegram group, and we opened a subtopic for questions about this, and these are super meticulously answered to all the time, like every day. No, not every day. I mean, their questions come on a regular basis, and they are answered the same day. It's incredible.
And SOTA is also it's a federation, so it is somehow. I mean, they have a special status. Yeah, and I think for this the Telegram is very rich because you can attract different people or just ask, does someone know this, does someone know that? But we're getting off topic maybe.
No. So it's organic, but it's all on topic. Any more demands or wishes from this side, maybe? Or from the audience, or any other question, because we have time for one, maybe two questions.
Do you have any connections to other countries in Europe?
Connections to other countries in Europe.
I was just dissociating. Yeah, I mean, my direct connection is to the Venetian Artist Trial Network, which is Come.
Can you? I cannot understand.
The art collective, the Artist Run Network in Venice.
In Venice.
It's an Italian, and it's called Come. And I mean, as an artist run network, we are in connection at the moment with them. From my experience, I can. I've experienced their collective and I experienced this collective, and I find more similarities actually with probably your situation here in Czech Republic than what I've experienced now since I've been living in Belgium, because I think also Italian system of funding is really, really bad, and it's, the possibilities is also of getting funding and to be either independent artists or to run a space. It's quite complicated, so that's to me also the shift that now I have in Belgium. It's also quite interesting to see what is the possibility in there and how they're running in a different way.
Yeah, one thing about Brussels also is that the artist scene is super international. Like I'm from Belgium and I'm quite a rarity in Brussels. It's true, no? I mean, no people address me and they're like, "Oh my God, you're actually from Belgium." And then they ask me if I speak Dutch. So I'm also the only one in the group.
Yeah, I also always laugh if you ask me this question.
Okay. So yeah, the scene in itself is super international. So for example, now when we are organizing the international hangout, it was super easy to find connections to different cities in Europe. So now we will, apart from Prague, we're also inviting people from the Netherlands, from Amsterdam, from Liège. And Liège is actually south of Belgium, but for the art scene is considered another country.
For the Flemish art scene.
For the Flemish art scene is considered abroad, and then we're inviting Venice as well. So we're starting to build up a network, and there's already quite a list for if we would have the chance to organize another hangout.
Yeah, and organize other trips.
Sorry?
The fact that we're coming here is a step towards building this international network.
Why I'm asking it, because I was born in Prague. I lived in Paris. I'm also French. I lived in Belgium. I still have an apartment, and I'm living in Portugal. And everywhere I'm artist, and everywhere I come, there is something newborn network, and it's very fragile. And today I'm living since several years in Portugal, in the south, and they are starting to found the necessity. I'm in contact with some very active people on the topic of the artist statute, and I could help if you wish to make a contact, because they are really swimming with the topic.
Which location?
I am in the south, near Faro, and there is a newborn, and I hope that it will really be born, which is a collective which is called, a working term, MACA, which is Association Informal for the time being, MACA, and they will have the first big meeting 28th of this month. So, and they are trying to make this association a site of network to discuss with the government, because in Portugal the situation is very, very bad. And so it could be some opportunity to communicate. It would be nice.
Yeah, we reached out to some people, some connections that we have in Lisbon.
Yeah.
Because I personally wanted to go on holiday there.
So we can meet there if you want.
No, and then we found out, from the people we talked to, we found out that there is not really an artist-run scene, let alone a network.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting to learn more about.
And there are some people from Porto who are very active, and they are starting to make a sort of network of website with professional artists. To make a sort of list and to put and make an association which will defend the interest of professional artists, not because the artistic scene is complicated. Some of the artists are working because they have to eat in the evening, and so they are doing art in the evening. During the day, maybe not enough. So time.
Yeah, we are now really mainly focusing on finding networks in different cities that are connecting initiatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can make a conversation. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was really interested in your ideas, insights, suggestions, since you've been active in very different cities as an artist and seeing different scenes and maybe different cohesions or lacks of cohesion. What are things that come to mind if you're listening to us, things that you think, well, maybe you should consider doing this or that, or not doing that?
Unfortunately, yeah. Hi. Please help me. Oh, it's the opposite side. Yeah. Okay. So I have a very special case because I was like a lot of artists necessarily employed in other industries than the artistic. So I'm architect from my first job. Then I was doing some management work. So I was always doing art, but since 2000, let's say, I start really to do only the art. But for example, in Brussels, it was the when I start to really consecrate all my life to the art. It was the moment of the comment ça se dit la naissance de Smart. The association of Smart.
Cooperative.
Yeah, cooperative, which was taking care. It was it was constituting yet. And it was very interesting that in experience of Smart, because they take care of the contracts. I don't know whether you know, of course, the Smart. And I don't know whether the Czech part do know. It's an association which takes care about, you don't have a statue, but you can have an inscription in this association, and they will deal with the administrative part of the contract. So they will sign the contract on behalf of you, and they will pay the state part of the, example, VAT and so on, and you will receive the part. And this type of help, let's say, is important because then you, if you are artist in the theater, you can accumulate days which will give you the right to have a chômage. How to say?
The artist status.
Yeah.
Chômage,
So,
unemployment.
Unemployment.
But what is really interesting for
So it's really interesting. I don't know whether you know this kind of association which can help. And there was so it was very positive experience in Brussels, I saw, for example.
Thank you very much for this. And just to mention, our time is up, but feel free to react on this.
No, I just wanted to react on it quickly because I never worked with them, but I know a lot of people who did, and they do. It's good to have this option, but they do charge
Of course.
quite a lot.
Today they charge quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
at the
they
beginning,
take a big percentage.
In the beginning, it was not very.
Yeah.
It was very light. It was nearly nothing.
Oh no, it's not light.
Okay. So.
But I mean,
I moved from Brussels, so I don't know now.
Yeah, working in Belgium is very expensive anyway. So it's also normal that they take a percent, but they have kind of a bad reputation now, and they started that quite interestingly. But they're an association and a cooperative at the same time, meaning like it's something that you don't become a member of, but a co-owner of by paying a little bit of money, and then at least in theory, you also are part of all the decision-making processes. And so this at a certain point didn't work at all anymore the way it should be, because now it's just it's like an associate. It's really like paying a subscription. It's like paying a subscription for something that's done. You don't have any control over anymore. And they have heaps of real estate that sometimes, in some cases, they use really well, in other cases they use really badly. And what I think is a lesson to be learned from this is, it's kind of interesting that other actors would provide a service that's interesting for us, but we need to be represented in their boards of directors. We need to be represented in at least their General Assembly to make sure that we can also influence the way that they are going to develop on the slightly longer term. Because if SMART would have developed differently, that would have really been an interesting organization now. Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, yeah, I'm really sorry because it was helpful at the beginning, and it was really very open. And if now it's dead,
It's not that.
it's
but
about
It's not a service to the artist.
Yeah.
Or it's not funded.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a
a
commercial-
capitalist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any super quick remarks, maybe from this side? If not, then thank you everyone. Thanks the Brussels Artist-Run Collective Network. Thanks the swimming pool and every member gallery. Thank all of you, and thanks to the Czech centers. And have a nice rest of the evening.
And also thank you very much, Center for Contemporary Art Prague, for hosting the event.
Thank you, Magdalena.